Welcome everyone to another training event where we're going to be going over the SHOEBOX audiometry kits. Each one of the cases comes in one of these small packages about the size of a Bible. They are individualized and serialized with an audiometry number posted directly on the back. Let's take a look inside of this bad boy and see what's part of the kit. The biggest piece is going to be the actual iPad itself. Again, each one of these are numbered in order of which audiometer they are. They come in a protective case and can be set up in a trifold arrangement. The next piece of the kit that you're going to want to know about is the individualized boom microphone. These are used for room scans. They are serialized and labeled. Inside is the actual microphone itself using a lightning connector to connect to the iPad. Each one will come with an individualized USB wall charger and the actual transducer itself. That completes pretty much everything that is part of the SHOEBOX audiometry kit. Now that we know what's in each individual kit, let's take a look at the actual program itself and learn how to navigate that program. Here you can see the landing page for SHOEBOX. Anytime you move around on this screen, it's going to come up with a pin. We keep those standardized across devices. That pin is going to be 3575, and that will gain you access. This is the actual home screen itself. Verify you're logged in under your profile and have a Wi-Fi connection for this immediate portion. First area we're going to go is to settings, which is on the right side of the bottom. Taking a look at the settings screen here, we can look at all of the different kind of things that we need to know about our iPad at a glance. The headphones and microphone tab is probably the first one I want to take a look at, because if the hardware doesn't match what your physical items are to what the iPad is, it can actually invalidate your test. So let's take a quick look at that menu of what's inside of that section. Looking at the actual tab, there's a serial number for your headphones and a serial number for the microphone. The headphone serial number is going to correspond with the QR tag that is listed on the actual transducers themselves. You can take a look at what that looks like here in the picture-in-picture, and as well for the microphone. Now, if we take a look at needing to swap those out because those devices are too old, need to be recalibrated, were damaged, whatever it is, it's a very simple process to get the new ones added in. Just tap the plus sign. Once that comes up, this is the menu. The list you're looking at currently is every transducer that is paired to any of the iPads that we currently have out in the field. So you can go through and manually select it. You can type it in and match the QR code listed on the transducer, or use the blue key to the right and use the camera in order to scan the QR code. Any of those work, and then just add them. For the actual microphone, you will need to remove it prior to being able to add or re-add your microphone to that list. Keep that in mind because that process is similar but is slightly different. Moving back to the main settings screen, we're going to want to make sure that we're actually online prior to moving through any of the additional steps here. That can be verified in the top left. You can see here we are online. If you need to, pull down the top right portion of the screen in diagonal fashion. There you can re-verify or turn on or off Wi-Fi. Moving back in, we'll have to enter the code, and we want to look at the device settings. Those are going to be very important to make sure that the iPad functions correctly on test day. You can see that section here. Let's just jump in and make sure that we're synced up and ready to go for the test day that we'd have coming up. And immediately, we are not. You can tell by those little red exclamation points that we have not successfully synced for a while. In order to rectify that, usually all you have to do is hit the download button, which you can see here. Quickly tapping that button will download the most current settings and allow that iPad to be ready to go for test day. Make sure this is done. If you don't do that, again, it can cause issues. All right, so moving on, we're going to take a look at the testing offline section, which is located right here. The list you're looking at here is the work orders that were slated to my personal account here. One of the things that you're going to want to know is if you don't see a name on this list that you're currently going to be slated to go for, you'll need to contact the operations team and ensure that they've added you as a user for that list, and then resync the tablet as needed. You can do that by hitting the download button here in order to resync. Now that that's completed, I'm going to re-verify to make sure that the work order that I was looking for has now entered itself into that list. That's everything we need to know about settings, so let's move on to test prep. On the test prep, you can see that there are 3 separate things that need to be accomplished prior to being able to do any testing. It's recommended that this is either done during the half-hour setup period or within 24 hours of the start of that work order. First on the list is room scan. The room scan is going to verify that the room we want to test in is at an acceptable level for an audiology exam to be taking place. So let's take a look at that. On this particular unit, a room scan had already taken place, so we're just going to initiate for a rescan. Doing the actual scan is easy. You'll be utilizing the boom microphone that's part of the kit. Take a look at the installation process here in the other video. Once that's in and the system has recognized that a microphone is in, the next button is going to highlight and we'll be able to advance to the actual room scan itself. Again, this is to verify that your testing room is good to go. If there is a change in volume throughout the day, you may need to do this again. Now that we're actually ready, let's actually scan the room and see what the results are. Once it's finished, you'll have to remove the mic, and we can see that that was an unsuccessful scan. So you'll want to be aware of a couple of things that can kind of cause this to fail. Air registries, loud noises, people talking. These are sensitive pieces of equipment, and it does need to be substantially quiet for this to be a passed value. In the event of a failure, really just need to do another scan and maybe make an adjustment, go to a different room. For tips and tricks here, talk to your trainer or immediate supervisor. They can kind of show you how to get through this process relatively painfully. There's our passing value. We're on to the next step. The next step here is just going to be the headphone check. The headphone check verifies that the wires, connections, anything in the transducers are working correctly. This is a very simple check. It goes very fast. So we'll pull up the actual headphone check now and make sure that our equipment is actually physically working. You can see again, this is verifiably good equipment that I have just checked. So we're going to hit a recheck and just make sure that they are still working. I'm going to take out the actual transducers here, get them unwired, and get them plugged into the audio jack of the iPad, which is located here. Now that that's in, I'm going to take a look at the actual transducers to make sure there's no actual damage to the earmuffs, and then verify that while I'm doing those checks, I wiggle around the wires to make sure that we still have a good solid connection without any crackling, static, or intermittent sounds. When that's done, we're done with this entire section of the pre-check, and we can move on to the biological check. The biological verification is the longest portion of the day-to-day checks. It is verifying that the device is calibrated and well within its tolerable limits, and ensures that you're going to have a valid test. The first time you do this, you'll be setting that as a baseline only. Any future time on that system, you will be checking against that baseline. It's very important that you're within 5 decibels of the original baseline test that you had. Make sure that you take note, write down, or take a photo of your original baseline test. This will make things easier down the road if there is an issue or change in your hearing. As you can see in the table here, these are my current values. So as I'm rechecking these, I need to make sure that each one of these frequencies in both ears will need to be within 5 decibels every time I do a verification check. Conducting the actual verification is as simple as just re-administering a hearing test for yourself. Once you're done with that, you'll get the table with the updated values, and as long as they're within 5 decibels, you're good to proceed from here. These are all of the daily checks. Now that we're done, we can head back to the home screen and actually take a look at looking at the people to test and the day-to-day procedure here. So I'm going to pull up the actual search bar itself. When I tap that, you can see a keyboard comes up, and I'm just going to search for myself here to see if I can come up. I am not currently in the list. Now what? We're going to hit the plus sign right next to the search bar, and I'm going to assign myself to a project. If you can locate the project that they were meant to be on, then you can simply just assign them to that project. If you're testing for your own purposes to practice, use MHD mock test. If neither of those statements are true, put them in the default test and then notify operations of which individuals were added to that list. When adding a fresh name, the essential information to capture is going to be the first name, the last name, the date of birth, and the gender. If it does come up, the intention of gender is sex assigned at birth. If you receive any pushback in the field regarding this issue, it's better to just default to what the individual testing person would prefer as that answer. With that completed, we are actually now free to just start testing. So we're going to hit the Start Testing button at the bottom after we've confirmed that all of the personal details are correct. And we're going to select whatever the preferred language for the person being tested is. When you go to results, you can still default back to English. We'll begin working through all of the prompts. There are quite a few of them. This is also going to be covered in the actual training or instruction that you would be doing at the beginning of one of the actual hearing revolutions. This is a small slideshow that just kind of introduces how to take the test. The game is just that. It's a sorting game. Each one of the blue discs on the test are meant to serve as a sorting event where you push the blue disc and you just decide whether you can hear it, the sound, or not. So each time the person's going to start out just tapping the blue disc. They can hold it down or tap it. Either one is acceptable. If they can hear that sound, they'll bring that up to the green circle. If they can't, they'll bring it down to the red. And then they're going to repeat that as many times as needed. One of the biggest pieces of information is more than half the time they are not going to hear a sound. They need to know that that is normal. It may also be worth noting that someone with tinnitus or an established hearing problem may have difficulty actually conducting this test, and you may need to give them extra assistance throughout the testing period in order to help them get through the actual test itself. That is normal. It does happen pretty often, especially with 4 audiometers running simultaneously. Once they actually get through the entirety of that slideshow, they're going to hit Get Started one last time, which will bring up the final confirmatory test. Once they hit that button, we will actually be in the middle of a hearing test, where we can see the recognizable screen of what that actually is. As you can see, I'm sorting out as I'm pushing the blue circle, and then just choosing back and forth whether I can hear it or not. Now let's see how this test goes. Didn't go great. This is actually, again, pretty common. So when you see this screen, this is normal. If you are seeing this, it's good to make an evaluation on how far they got through the test before moving on. This, in this case, might be a good time to use the assisted mode because it's very clear that the person is either having a lot of difficulty or just really doesn't understand the purpose of the test or how to conduct it properly. So in this, we're going to toggle the assisted mode feature. You can see me just switch the rocker switch there and then hit retest. This is the assisted mode test where you can see the decibel volume being tested as well as a very simple interface to work through these prompts. Now I'm able to actually give the test manually and just have the person put a thumbs up when they can hear the tone. This is generally an easier way to get through the test and can be much faster. It's a good idea to identify the people who are struggling early on and just intervene before it becomes a problem or before the schedule gets too far behind. Once completed, you'll just review the results and sign off. Hope this was helpful for you. That's pretty much everything you need to know about audiology. If you do have any other questions, just point them at a supervisor or a trainer. We're more than happy to help you out. Thank you for your time.